and welcome to the Monocle Weekly. I'm Fernando Augusto Pacheco, and on today's show, we talk Brazilian telenovelas. With all its melodrama, suspense, and hairspray, it will keep a new cohort of viewers gripped in 2026, thanks to an unexpected twist, international expansion to the USA. A string of popular global telenovela hits will be adapted to the North American market by Los Angeles-based studio MFF Co. As a big telenovela fan, it was a true pleasure speaking with both Miura Kite, president of global content at MFF, and co-founder Estela Renner.
Vou acabar com esse inferno!
Miura Kite and Estela Renner, welcome to Monocle. A pleasure to have you here to talk about my favorite topic, telenovelas. Brazilian telenovelas.
It's our pleasure.
Fantastic. I just want to start, I want to know more who you are and what do you do. Perhaps I'll start with you, Estela, if you don't mind introducing yourself to the public.
Sure. I am Estela Renner. I'm co-founder of Maria Farinha Films. We call it MFF because it's hard in English. But this is an 18-year company that was based in Brazil, but now we have a branch in LA in which Miura Kite, my colleague, runs it as president of global content. I'm also a director and writer. I wrote and directed The Beginning of Life, this global series for Netflix, Way Beyond Weight, which is this international documentary on childhood obesity. And also I created and showran with my writing partner, Marcos Nisti, the scripted series Aruanas at Globo.
I've seen it.
Oh, you have seen it.
Yes.
I'm so glad. Okay, this is one of my favorite.
Good introduction. What about Miura? You're not Brazilian, but you're very involved now with all this Brazilian content, right?
Yes. I'm based in Los Angeles, and I'm the president of content, as she mentioned. I've known Maria Farinha for 6 years and enjoyed working with them. My most recent job was at Participant, which is a film and TV company in Los Angeles. But about a year ago, we opened the Los Angeles branch of Maria Farinha, and the telenovelas was something we were really excited about jumping into because it's something where we have the connection with the Brazil team to bring these amazing formats from Globo. And I have connections with American writers and American networks. And so making that bridge between the two was very exciting. It was one of the first things I said when we started the job is, can we please do some telenovelas? So.
I love that. And before we talk actually about this project, I want to talk to you, Estela, because I'm a big defender of the Brazilian telenovela. I think, I know that they're famous worldwide. We export them to many countries. But a lot of people say, it's a telenovela. But we're talking here Hollywood production values, right? It is a big deal, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it is a big deal. In our case, we're not going to produce telenovelas. We're adapting them into series. So we're talking about 200 chapters becoming 20, like 2 seasons of 10 episodes. And the reason we're doing this is because the telenovelas have a proven audience. And the audience in Brazil is so diverse. So as Ted Sarandos from Netflix said, if you make it in Brazil, you can make it anywhere. It's true, because we are a melting pot of so many people that came from all over the world to be in Brazil. And the importance of it, I would say it personally, the first gay kiss, I saw it in a telenovela. The first trans person was in a telenovela. The first actor with Down syndrome was in a telenovela. All at Globo. So Globo shapes culture in a very progressive way in Brazil. So I'm very proud to be making this deal with them.
That's amazing. And Miura, so as Estela's saying, it's going to look a little bit different. Of course, it's adapting to the American market. So how is it going to work? So you have some stories, some telenovelas, which we can talk about it later. Will it be American actors? I wonder if you can tell us a bit more about that.
Our main remit is to do them in America with American networks. So we are taking all of the scripts of 200 episodes of one season and distilling it down and having writers come up with takes, keeping all of the amazing plot twists and character connections, but having less time. So in the typical U.S. form. It will be a season, so they'll need to come up with cliffhangers for each episode and big season finales. So it'll be just in that format, yeah.
Knowing the American audience, Miura, do you think, are they ready for something like this? How do you think it's going to be kind of welcomed in the country?
I think 100% they're ready. People are looking for lighter fare, definitely interested in romance, humor, levity. Those things are really sought after right now. So I think there's definitely a big window for it.
Estela, give us a little taster of what telenovelas. I think as Brazilians, some of our Brazilian listeners will know some of them, but I wonder if you can give us a selection, because there's a lot to choose, right?
Yeah, it was really hard to choose. We all have our favorites, and there are many. We're all raised watching telenovelas at Globo. But you know that telenovelas at Globo, they're written in a near real time, adapting to daily audience feedback. And this unique process creates storylines that deeply resonate with viewers, a ready-made proof of concept for the US. So by reimagining these narratives for US platforms, we're not only tapping into extraordinary creative legacy and proving rating track record, but also inviting new audiences to experience the imagination, emotion, and diversity that defines these stories. So for the slates that we have now, for those adaptations, the telenovelas into series for the English-speaking audience in the US, the niche slate includes standout titles like Empire, which in Portuguese is called Império, winner of the 2015 International Emmy Awards for Best Telenovela, and also Bellissima, a classic telenovela.
I love Bellissima.
You do? I love it too. With captivating characters by Silvio de Abreu. And I love Silvio de Abreu because he was our mentor at Aruanas. We also have The Other Side of Paradise, O Outro Lado do Paraíso, which was licensed to 85 countries. And we also have All Flowers, Todas as Flores, a classic melodrama with a thriller-like pace by João Manuel Carneiro, author of the hit Brazil Avenue, Avenida Brasil, that stopped the country when Avenida Brasil last chapter was on. And one of Globo's best-selling titles. And also The Normals, Os Normais, a hit sitcom in Brazil that was a cultural phenomenon, running for 3 successful seasons, starring Oscar nominee and Golden Globe winner Fernanda Torres.
Quando eu e Rui a gente começou a namorar, eu pedi que ele me desse uma prova da seriedade do nosso relacionamento. Ele me deu uma gaveta para guardar calcinha e absorvente. Só que eu não sabia que ele também tinha comprado para mim isso, olha, um anel de noivado. Lindo, né? Só que a gaveta tem sido tão mais útil.
The whole world loves her right now.
Oh, yeah,
Not
very
just
much.
Brazilians, right?
Yeah. And we could even talk about the process of how we chose them. We originally had 35 or 40 titles, and we had a vacation. And so between the Brazilian team and the U.S. team, we all watched all of them. And there are little clips that Globo put together of what the whole series, what the plot twists were. So it was about a 20-minute clip for each one, and we each ranked them, and we ranked them by whether they're relevant, whether they would be easily adaptable to the U.S., whether the A storyline was interesting. And it was interesting to see the Brazilian office ranked things slightly differently, and then we came up with a formula where it was slightly higher rating for the U.S. since we're selling there, but we narrowed it down to 12, and then 2 weren't available, so we have 10. But it was a very fun group process that involved the entire company.
I'm just thinking about this now because you mentioned Silvio de Abreu, which I think is one of my favorite telenovela authors. I think in Brazil, whoever writes the telenovela is a big deal. Like, you see a telenovela, you say, oh, that's Gilberto Braga, that's, Walter Avancino, whoever it is. I think, unlike perhaps some series in the US, which maybe you don't know who is the writer, maybe it's not such a big deal as the main actresses or actors. Would you agree? I mean, I wonder if you have any thoughts on that. I
think in the US, writer is king. Do you disagree, Miura?
I do agree, and I think that their voice is what the network's buying. They want to know what that writer's voice is going to amplify in the telenovela. So, as the showrunner in the U.S. model, the writer's the showrunner. They make all the decisions. They edit the episodes. So it is the number one important thing. And when you sell a show to a U.S. network, their first question is it a proven showrunner? That's really what you need. So.
I guess for the feature films, it's more the director that matters. But in the series, Enterprise, it's the writer. It's who is the creator.
A lot like in Brazil then. That's good to know. So tell us, when are you going to start filming the first one? I mean, I want to know the details. Will it be in LA, perhaps? Or are you open to other places as well?
Some of them are set, like Empire could be set on a farm in a ranch
could
area.
Be in Texas.
So, yeah, it could be. So, and I think there might be little tweaks, for example, of soccer is big in Brazil and it might be football in America. So if there's an athlete involved, do they become a different sport? But I think that we are looking for writers now. We are also simultaneously talking to networks and hoping we can narrow in on one they'd like to develop with us, look for writers with them. And then we would sell it to the network, and then the pilot gets written, and then hopefully the writer's room is ordered to write the rest of the scripts, and then pre-production and production. So it's a lengthy process, but we're really having exciting conversations with writers and networks now about this whole... We made a brochure here, which
I love a good brochure. I love a good... I already opened in the page of Bellissimo because I'm a bit obsessed with it.
We know that there are some melodrama tropes that just travel the continent. They travel all continents. So we have self-made man, hidden hair, sibling competition, revenge, love triangle, anti-hero. We know how that is already present in American series such as Yellowstone or Succession or Dallas or Dynasty or Damage or even Sex and the City. You have those. So we have this material in which we're talking about the massive audience that Globo was able to achieve, but it also bring the comparables that Americans already have produced that tackle the same melodrama tropes, just so to prove the concept as well. And one thing that I found really curious that Globo shared with us is that, different than a lot of people imagine, but telenovelas in Brazil are watched by both males and females, so it's double gender. So, for example, The Other Side of Paradise was seen by 62% of women and 38% of men. That's a lot, especially because the two main characters are women. If you talk about Empire, in which the protagonist was a male, then we are talking about 37% of male viewers and 63% of females. So that's very, very balanced. So, for example, if a network in the US wants to have both audiences, adapting telenovelas into series is a way to go.
That's a very good point. And I think, Stella, perhaps all ages as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
I see, especially recently in Brazil, like young people are kind of going back to the telenovelas. They watch in different ways, in, streaming, the mobile, whatever, but they're still watching it, right?
Yeah, they're still watching. At Global Play, for example, the global streaming service, one of their biggest hits are the telenovelas that they have aired years ago.
And Miura, I'm just going to ask you, what's the relation? Of course, you both have a relationship with Globo. Can they interfere perhaps with the adaptation? How would that work? Because there will be need for some adaptation to the US market. Did they give you free range to pick what you want to do?
I think they did, yeah.
That's good.
They're essentially licensing it, and we have the rights to shop them, find writers. We'll keep them in the loop, and we have been. These are the writers we're circling and all of that. But, this will be a separate thing in another country, so they'll be different. And they have already licensed different formats in a lot of places. They just haven't had a big hit in the U.S. yet, so they really wanted to focus on that.
That's
region.
what I find it interesting because, Globo, they exported and they are quite popular in other countries in Latin America, in Europe. But I do think the US, it's a good, important market to look out for, right?
Yeah, and I think it is because you need to know who the writer's going to be. But in March, I went to Brazil and I toured the Globo lot, which was really fun. And, I felt this sort of envy that they still have 20, 30 million people watching a show at the same time. We used to have that in the U.S., and it's so fractured now, but we don't have that appointment viewing of everybody's talking the next day about what they saw. And, I think that's what the goal is now. That's what networks are trying to figure out, how to make it appointment viewing, like White Lotus is on Sunday, but we don't have that anymore, and it's kind of amazing that Brazil still does so much viewership, and then it gets the conversations going. It's in the zeitgeist. And so,
Estela, any other of the telenovelas in your slate that you're excited for? I'm loving looking at this brochure because I just realized you're also doing Celebrity or Celebridade.
Yeah.
I remember watching this one as a kid. I think that one could work for the US market very well.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's very current.
Yeah, it's very current. But I'm truly excited about King of Cattle. So, O Rei do Gado. It's just because it's so Shakespearean. You know, it mixes Hamlet with King Lear, with Romeo and Juliet, all in the same telenovela. And I'm truly excited. And you know that Brazil has rich stories, strong emotional narratives, and an enormous cultural diversity. So in recent years, global audiences have shown a growing appetite for non-US storytelling, like the Koreans, Latin American, Spanish content. And Brazil has a huge window to take part in this movement.
I like that. Are you excited about a particular one, Miura?
I mean, you just mentioned Celebrity, and I think like Hacks is a good comp right now with the two strong women, different slight generations, morning show as well. You know, I'm very excited as well about Bellissima, one of your favorites, because I think the world of lingerie, you know, it can be about beauty, it can be about empowerment, but it can also be about exploitation. So if you're really looking at fashion, but lingerie in particular, there's a lot of really great thematic elements there. And I also think that Empire is, you know, like Yellowstone with Succession in there. I think that that's just such a great main storyline of this man who's, you know, lost his first love, finds another, builds this empire, who's going to take it over, and then the secret heir who shows up. I mean, I think there's a lot there. So those are three, but I'm excited about all of them.
I'm super excited about The Normals, Os Normais.
Normais.
Because we have to rewatch it to pick it.
It's so
and
funny.
I couldn't stop laughing. I just could not. And I think the type of humor that they tackle is just so witty, so edgy, so smart. And I lived in the US for 7 years, and of course they have great humor there, but nothing like The Normals. It's very specific, and I'm very proud of having The Normals in our slate.
So much to come, guys. What a pleasure talking to you both. And then, of course, let's talk again when things are starting over, because this is very exciting. Muito obrigado.
Thank you so much for having us, Fernando.
Thank you.
Mas agora a vida dele está ameaçada, de verdade.
Maluco, né? Culpa, eu não tive culpa, esse pobre coitado se atravessou na minha frente.
Não é justo, planejei tudo certinho, tem que dar certo!
Hoje,
Não consigo respirar.
Império.
Thank you, Miura and Stella. You can also read more about the story on the latest December-January issue of Monocle. The show was edited by Christy O'Grady. Thank you very much for listening.